guys should listen. Thanks. Okay. Hi, I'm Rebecca Gresh.
I'm Marina Stagel, and our practicum was done with Wood County Parks, and we basically designed a natural playscape for them. So it was very fun practicum.
It was the best.
All right, so basically what we did, again, we worked with Wood County Parks District, and for them we created a natural playscape design, and a natural playscape is basically like a playground or a play area that's made out of all natural materials and has like educational benefits for students and things like that.
That way they can use it for like day camps or students to come on field trips.
Yeah, field trips and things like that. And then they also asked us specifically to do that because they knew that we were education majors and that we were science majors. So they wanted to make sure that there were educational benefits in the park rather than just being like a hill for no reason or like a tree, I don't know, that didn't have any educational benefits. So who we worked with is, again, Wood County Parks District. But our main supervisor was Brian Bachbrader. I think that's how you say his last name. We only met with him 3 times, and that was the initial time where we got like our project from him, and we kind of talked about what we were going to do. And then we met with him to go on kind of a field trip for our practicum, where we went and visited a couple natural playscapes as well as our site that our playground might be actually built at. And then we met with him again at the end to discuss like our results and everything. But mainly we worked on our own or with each other, just kind of doing research and looking things up and things like that. So how we did it was that we researched different natural playscapes. We looked up ones from all around the world, and then we also went to one that was nearby. It was a couple hours away, I think, and then we also went to the place that we possibly could have our natural playscape built at.
So some other things we did, we met together, often at the union over lunch or whatever, and we would compare ideas that we had for it. So like, I came in the one day, like, in a tizzy, I'm like, oh my gosh, butterfly garden. And like, I rolled with it. And she was like, yeah, you know, that's a good idea. So we had to research a lot of things, because one of the things we had to keep in mind was it had to be safe. That was one of the things that Brian, like, really hit upon. It was like, hey, remember, small children, we don't want any liability, like if they get hurt or something. So we all had to keep that in mind. We did a lot of research about like plants, what ones are toxic and non-toxic. What can we have here that will not hurt children if they accidentally eat something? Yeah, as we said, we went to a field trip to other natural playscapes in the area that are within a few hours away. Okay, asterisks, they kind of sucked. Ours, once they probably will build it, that's their plan at least, will be wonderful. But as we said before. So why this is so important though is, you see that first picture, what we have, that was what they had at like one of the playscapes that we went to. It's kind of sad. It's supposed to be a giant bird's nest. It's
was
extremely
like maybe a foot tall, a
It
little bit less. It was kind of a bunch of sticks laying in a circle.
We didn't know.
So.
We thought it was just a pile of stuff, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, this is the bird's nest." And we're like, "Oh," and we were very upset. What we could have, what could be, is that in a different part. I think that one might be in Oregon. We could have really cool nests that have ramps, so people who might be handicapped in some way or disabled are able to go and like be a part of the park store, like visit and have fun. But yeah. So this is our design that we ended up turning in. We had several like big things, like the butterfly garden, the giant bird's nest, a hill with a tunnel, shade trees, tree stumps that you could like walk on and hop across, like balance beams too, a sandbox, a teepee, because they really wanted a teepee, but we also talked to them and did a lot of research and found that wigwams would have been what the Native Americans of this area would have built. So they were like, yeah, wigwam sounds like a great idea. We can use it to teach history. And so we also wanted to have like a water feature. So yeah, that is our beautiful design.
And we were talking about either they were going to do a river. The place that we went to didn't actually have any creeks or rivers running through there, so they might do like a pond or something instead. But they would include like all wildlife that's from the area, like in the butterfly garden. When she did the research for that part, it was all like native plants, so that we wouldn't have any invasive species. And then a lot of the features we included like had a lot of benefits, like the EE31 or the wigwam for history. The shade trees were mainly there so that like if parents or teachers brought their students or kids there, they could sit and watch them from any area of the park.
Which is why they're like
Spaced out.
strategically placed.
Yeah, and then with the sandbox, we also talked about like having some rocks around it, and they could be like different types of rocks, like sedimentary
get to write on them, it will be beautiful. So pretty much, you have $1,000 to build a natural playscape. Come up with 3 to 5 educational benefits for your park, and that's what you can buy.
So for ours, we didn't really have to work with like a budget, so we were kind of more so in the planning stages, but they did tell us like a rough estimate was, I think, 50,000?
Yeah, like 50,000 is what they're looking at.
Yeah, so we tried to make the math a little simpler by just doing like
I
smaller
don't like
numbers
doing
into
math.
50,000. So if you just kind of look at some, maybe pick a couple of them within the $1,000 budget,
Yeah.
and try to make some benefits.
We'll give you a few minutes for that, and then I'm going to ask you guys to share what you get. I'm interested.
Explain what they picked.
So, who wants to tell me what you did? I'm really excited for this. Make my day, guys. Tell me about it.
So we're gonna do $1,000 worth of shade trees.
Forest.
The forest.
Yeah, that was pretty much the natural playscape we visited. It was pretty much a forest, and that was the most interesting thing about it. It was very sad. Well, why? What would be your educational benefits to that? Like, how would you? Yeah.
Probably like ecosystems and whatnot.
Okay.
Different types of trees that aren't invasive.
Nice.
And we
You. I want to hear you. Talk to me. Yes, you.
Okay, so I did a teepee and wigwam to like teach about the native people of the area, and then I did a sandbox. I thought that you could bury fossils in them every day, and have the kids
Great
find the fossils.
idea. I love it.
And then I put a pond because I feel like water is like a huge part of the ecosystem. And then I put a log down for exercise. Four shade trees, and then I put a butterfly garden just because we
That
don't always
sounds like a really great program.
Yeah. So, okay, so basically, what we learned from all of this was, like, time management was really important because we were working mostly independently, and then sometimes we'd meet up and compare notes, and then go back to working independently, so we needed to make sure that we, like, worked on it in kind of the same amounts of time, and just depending on, because it was all independent, so.
We also had to do a lot of like creative problem solving and like we just had to use our imaginations for this. We had to be like childlike again, which was really fun. So I like being like a little child when I get to be.
Yeah, and then also we learned more about like researching independently, because we had done research before, like in a group from our first year in action, but it was more so on our own, and then we'd meet together, compare, and then go back and do things independently.
It was great fun, guys.
It was a
10
really
out of
fun
10,
project.
would recommend again.
So, all right, and then that's the end of ours.
Anyone have any questions?
Do you guys have questions about anything that we did?
Yeah.
What were some of the materials made out of? Like the bird's nest, that was thick. So do you have to like replace that?
Like, so we had a lot of different materials that we could like use. There was, sticks, and we also like looked at certain types of concrete that is actually more like natural material that you could like pour, but it's like rocks. It was real weird stuff. At least I found that.
Yeah, there was like a lot of just mostly like wood and rocks and just kind of like natural things, but like with the bird's nest, you just probably use sticks and things like that.
Yeah.
But trying to get something like the concrete to kind of hold it together so that it wouldn't be just a tiny pile of sticks on the floor.
What was the bird's nest for? Like,
So the idea behind the bird's nest was, it's really popular for some reason in a lot of areas. It's the idea that, hey, you can see where a bird lives. Because normally, bird's nests are found like up in trees where little kids should not be climbing. So we wanted to make it a little more interesting than just that. So we were like, hey, we're also going to have like bird houses nearby so we can do bird watching. And we'd also probably have like a plaque or something that has different things that birds' nests are made out of. Because birds will take whatever they can find around, like sticks, leaves, and if they find trash.
Trash.
Trash. So we were like, hey, this is why you shouldn't litter, because they'll take your the trash that you threw away on the ground, and they'll use it to make the bird's nest, and that can be dangerous sometimes. So, anyone else? Thanks, you guys have been great.